Oh, yeah. This one? Yeah.
Oh, it reminds me. I forgot to take my Zyprexa today. Disorganized thoughts?
Yeah, essentially.
I don't think you're scooting close enough.
Murder conviction of Missouri woman overturned after 43 years in prison. Prison term of Sandy Hemi, 63, longest known wrongful conviction of a woman in U.S. history. A Missouri woman who was imprisoned for more than 40 years for murder has had her conviction overturned by a judge who found clear and convincing evidence that she was innocent of the killing in question. Sandy, who is 63 now, was convicted of and sentenced to life imprisonment for the 1980 slaying of Patricia Jeschke, a library worker in St. Joseph, Missouri, after Sandy made statements to the police incriminating herself while she was a psychiatric patient. On Friday, Livingston County Circuit Judge Ryan Horstman ruled that evidence directly ties the killing of Jeschke to a local police officer who later went to prison for another crime and has since died. Sandy, who has spent the last 43 years behind bars, must be freed within 30 days unless the prosecutors decide to retry her, the judge said. The ruling came after an evidentiary hearing in January where Sandy's legal team presented arguments supporting her evidence. Sandy's prison term marks the longest known wrongful conviction of a woman in U.S. history. Her attorney with the Innocent Project, a criminal justice nonprofit, said,
"We are grateful to the court for acknowledging the grave injustice Ms. Hemi has endured for more than 4 decades," her attorney said in a statement. Sandy initially pleaded guilty to capital murder in exchange for avoiding the death penalty, but her conviction was thrown out on appeal, according to the Associated Press. She was convicted again in 1985 after a one-day trial in which the only evidence against her was her confession. In a 147-page petition seeking her exoneration, attorneys argued the authorities ignored Hemi's wildly contradictory and factually impossible statements while she was a patient at a psychiatric hospital. Been there. Sandy, then 20, was receiving treatment for auditory hallucinations, derealization, and drug use when she was targeted by the police, her attorney said. Beginning from the age of 12, fucking Christ.
That's hard to say. Inpatient.
But since 12, though, it fucking sucks.
Yes, yeah. That's what I was saying. Like, one of the hardest things reading through that is realizing that literally she has no one in her life since that age that has had her back. And that fucking fucks me up.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Over a series of hours-long interviews, Sandy gave conflicting statements about the murder while being treated with antipsychotic drugs, her attorney said. At some points, she was so heavily medicated that she was unable to even hold her head up, and she was restrained and strapped to a chair, they wrote. Detectives noted that Sandy seemed mentally confused and not able to comprehend their questions. Stephen Fuston, a retired St. Joseph Police Department detective, testified that he stopped one of the interviews because she didn't seem totally coherent. A pig with a conscience. Police exploited her mental illness and coerced her into making false statements while she was sedated and being treated with antipsychotic medication. I take that back. No good things. They alleged that authorities at the time suppressed evidence that implicated Michael Holman, then a 22-year-old police officer who had tried to use the victim's credit card. Holman's truck was spotted near the crime scene, and a pair of earrings identified by Jeschke's father were found in Holman's possession. Holman had been a suspect and was questioned at the time. Many of the details uncovered during the investigation into Holman were never given to Hemi's attorneys. Holman was investigated for insurance fraud and burglaries and spent time in prison. He died in 2015. In his ruling Friday, Horstman wrote that no evidence whatsoever outside of Mrs. Hemi's unreliable statements connects her to the crime, adding to those statements had been taken while she was in psychiatric crisis and physical pain. In contrast, this court finds that the evidence directly ties Holman to this crime and murder scene, Horstman wrote. He said prosecutors had failed to disclose evidence that would have helped Hemi's defense and that her trial counsel had fallen below professional standards. The Missouri Attorney General's Office, which fought to uphold her conviction, did not immediately comment On the judge's ruling, the Kansas City Star reported. That pisses me off.
So a couple other things that I had found out. Jeshke was found with pantyhose wrapped around her arms and her legs, and she was strangled to death. But they found a knife laying underneath her head. And then Sandy, who had went into a mental episode while just recently being released from a psychiatric inpatient facility, she went to an old nurse's home that she knew for essentially help. She was hiding in the nurse's closet with a knife, and that's why they were like, oh yeah, so clearly she did it. A few days after she gets her medication finally stabilized, she said that she didn't know she did it until she read about it in the paper.
Hold on. You said the victim was strangled and she had a knife?
Because I was like, these don't, it's not even the same fucking knife. Like, these two things don't.
That's the thing about being mentally ill, is that people just take advantage of you. Most people don't respect the mentally ill, especially not police.
ERs aren't dealt to handle any kind of psychiatric episode of any form, which is evident all the time, because that unfortunately is the first point of contact for a lot of people who do have any kind of mental health problems, because they can't get in to see a general physician or a psychiatrist or a general physician. They have to wait like 3 months to see just a PCP. Once you get a PCP finally established and you're trying to now get a psychiatrist before you have a mental episode that you feel is coming on, now you gotta wait 6 to 7 months before they are available. But you're about to have a full-blown episode. Like, you need help now, and that's why you're supposed to be able to go to the ER and get that emergency room help. But they don't know how to deal with people.
They just throw you in the mental institution.
They just pump you full of as many drugs as they can and send you to the next open bed.
Mm-hmm. Because we all go crazy at the same time. The moon's really weird.
So, from some stupid fucking shit that's happening to some stupid fucking shit that's happening to the worst stupid shit that's fucking happening. Oh god.